I just have one request. Can these companies please stop making live adaptations for video games? I mean, these things just never seem to work out. Every single one of them is a complete flop and the fan base just completely hates them. I mean, just look at the two recent examples, the Halo show by Paramount Plus and Netflix's Resident Evil. I mean, both of those were pathetic dog turds of entertainment, but they just don't stop and they just keep making them. And one of the reasons they keep making these type of shows is because some people just eat this shit up. Like this guy. This show was dope. Don't listen to the negative half-baked star comments. Was a unique take on a great franchise. Unique, Barry? How? How is this show unique, Barry? I would crawl around God's green earth just to find out what's unique about this generic wet sock of a show. But thank God most people aren't like Barry, because the audience score on the Resident Evil show was absolutely abysmal. 26% audience score versus 56 from the critics. So almost all Resident Evil fans agree that this was not a good adaptation of the franchise. But for some reason, all these game journalists and critics wanted to defend this show and call it the best adaptation of Resident Evil ever. I mean, I saw so many of these articles before I even watched the show, and it actually made me hyped to watch it. I'm like, oh, maybe this show is actually going to be good. So I jump in and watch the first episode. And within the first 30 minutes, they make a Zootopia porn joke, which made me contemplate life a little bit. I mean, I was looking up directions to the nearest bridge, but I got through it and finished the show, and let me tell you, it did not get better. So the show's story is basically just the relationship between two sisters. So there's two different timelines, one where they're younger and just moved into New Raccoon City. So basically the two sisters, Jane and Billy, they sneak into Umbrella because Billy is a vegan and doesn't want them doing animal testing. So Billy gets attacked by some kind of dog with the virus and then is bit and infected, right? So the rest of that timeline is basically summed up with them trying to figure out, if she's going to end up turning and how they're dealing with her after she got bit. And then there's another timeline that's about 10 years later, or it might be a little bit more than that, where it's way after the outbreak and they're basically not in good terms anymore. And then we find out that Billy, Jane's sister, is now the leader of Umbrella Corp and is now doing everything possible to make Jane's life a living hell. The ending to season 1 was literally Billy taking Jane's daughter from her. It just really seems like the relationship between the two is the main focus of the show, which would be totally fine if they wanted to make a show like that, but they just had to slap the Resident Evil name on this turd just to get a few extra clicks, which I feel is exactly why Resident Evil fans don't enjoy this show, is because the zombies feel like a subplot just to get this sibling relationship story out there. Another thing about this show is the comedy in it is absolutely abysmal. It seems like anytime there's a tense moment or scene in the show, they try to run it with some wacky comedy. Like there was one time Jane and this guy from Umbrella, I forgot his name, but the chubby guy, they get kidnapped and the guy basically starts telling SpongeBob jokes and talking about how it's his favorite show. It was just trying to be comedic relief, but I feel like they just do it at the worst possible times. There was also a scene where Evelyn and Albert Wesker were talking, and for some reason one of them had to mention 4chan virgins, which is just so stupid because I think they're both like in their 40s probably or late 30s, and I've never ever in my life heard somebody that old talk about 4chan or even know what it is, and they just really decided to go for the teen Gen Z crowd, which is why the story's so different and why it's just kind of a generic zombie show. They just kind of forgot about the diehard fans that have been fans for 20 years of this franchise, which is fine if you're okay with just completely turning your back on the fans who actually care about the story and the franchise. And the funniest thing about this is that this show is probably not over yet, because season 1 ended on a cliffhanger, so that means they're definitely gonna have season 2 unless they decide to dump it. So both the Halo TV show and the Resident Evil TV show, which were both atrocious, are gonna get season 2s, which is kind of sad because there's plenty of great shows that never get season 2s, especially on Netflix. I mean, they just dump whatever they possibly can just to save a couple of bucks. But yeah, Resident Evil will probably have a second season, and it's all because of these people who defend it in the reviews, which is fine, honestly. I mean, everybody can have their own opinion, even when it's the wrong one, because at the end of the day,
the people are retarded.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Peace out, everybody.
But look at where